Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a quick first impression video on a knife from Griffin Knife Co. Let me just show you what comes in the box. I've already got the knife out. In fact, I've already made a slight change to it, but I just want to show you one really impressive thing. First of all, the packaging itself is very well done, very professional. I really like these pouches from Griffin and from a couple other companies who are OEM'd by Bestech are a little more substantial than the Wii pouches and a little bit more impressive overall. The main thing here, though, it comes with a certificate of authenticity, a sticker, microfiber cloth, all the stuff we're used to seeing. I'll put this down in case you just can't wait for me to talk about the size. You want to pause and read that through. But the big story here is check this out. It's got like all the hardware, like a full complement of hardware for the knife, which is really, really nice to see. There's a few companies I've seen do similar things, but rarely to this extent. And so that's really, really impressive. And so good on Griffin Knife Company for doing that. And that would be something I'd love to see a lot more companies doing. Let's get that out of the way and go ahead and take a look at the knife itself. So there you go. This is the Griffin Co. X Series bolster lock. Absolutely gorgeous design. I have to say the design aesthetic of Griffin knives really, really agrees with me. And for a while, when they first came out, everything was a bit smaller than I liked, and it kind of bugged me because, you know, I'm like, well, I like this stuff. I want to be able to pick something up from them, but nothing was in my size range. Now, eventually, they came along with the 3.5 Scout, which is great. But before that, everything was kind of too small for me. Certainly, this is well within my size range as well. So I'm really glad to see that. And there are a couple of other things. There's also a fixed blade version of this. That is very, very compelling to me. So hopefully I can get my hands on one of those in the not too distant future. Now, the main thing that stands out to me about this knife, just because a lot of stuff that's on here is pretty standard for a high-end production knife, but you don't always see this really aggressive hollow grind. I absolutely love that. And the best way to see it is actually look at the tip here. You can actually see the curvature yourself. Even I think as I let the light roll over it, you should be able to see that this is a hollow grind. It is such an aggressive hollow grind and so thin behind the edge. That is phenomenal. Of course, the steel here is MagnaCut, at least now. I want to say when these first came out, they weren't MagnaCut. Someone could correct me down in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But if you're buying something brand new from Griffin Co., it's going to be MagnaCut, at least at this point. And we can see what happens, of course, moving forward. So yeah, the blade here is phenomenal. This is, of course, the stonewash version. You can tell that by looking at it. There are other blade finishes available, and if you want to check that out, you go over to their website, and you kind of have these drop-down menus where you can pick the various options out. Next thing is the bolster lock here. This is a really nicely done bolster lock. Again, you know, we've seen this before, and I've made this comment before, but I have to say I really, really like the access to the lock bar that they've given and that bit of a little landing pad with some traction. That is so well done, and it's something, again, like the hollow grind, like the hardware, it's something I wish I saw a lot more often from different knives. So very accessible lock bar. The detent on this is great. So deployment is going to be through this cutout in the blade or through the front flipper. And as I've said many times before, it's often difficult to get detent right when you're doing a front flipper as well as blade deployment. But in this case, they've really dialed it in. So really satisfying front flipping, really satisfying spidey flick. I know I'm doing them opposite there, and in fact the edges of this are sharp enough that I can get my thumb in there and do a slow roll on this as well. So any way you want to open this, it works pretty darn well. Moving on to, in this case, it's micarta on this handle. I've switched these out from the G10 that it came in with, but the cool thing is if you go on the Griffin website, you can see a bunch of different colors there, a bunch of different materials. And so theoretically, you could own a couple of different ones. They're not that difficult to change out. And that way, you can, and in fact, let me just point out, pop this scale off. Under here, there's a screw that goes all the way through and ties into the pocket clip. Then you can take the clip off, and now you can take both scales off, swap them out, and put everything back together without fully disassembling the knife. Now, if you're like me, you're probably going to fully disassemble the knife for cleaning and lubrication anyway, but it's nice to have that option where you don't have to. Next thing to quickly show you there, I don't know if I can show you. You might be able to catch a glimpse. Yeah, right there you can sort of catch a glimpse of the skeletonized titanium frame there. So that is to save weight, and they've done a pretty nice job on that. So last couple of points to mention, they've got a lanyard connection point that's integrated into the backspacer, and that milled clip is done in a way that works pretty well. It's nice and flat. It's got a bit of spring tension to it, and there's a good bit of space under here. I do have some pants that I'm a little concerned about, but I think most everything I wear is going to have no issue with this going in and out of pocket. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let me give you the specs on this. This is 8 7/16 overall, 3 5/8 on the blade length, which I love. You know, I love those bigger knives. It doesn't have to be huge, but even a little over 3.5 inches is definitely welcome for me. Grip area is going to be just a hair under. Now that's noticed from here to here. If you had really big hands, you could definitely rest your pinky back here. I can't tell you how it would feel doing that because my hand is not big enough to require it. But I know in other knives, it doesn't always feel great when you have to do that. For me though, the 3 11/16 grip area, that's a little under 3 3/4, is more than sufficient. All right, the closed length from here to here of just the frame, okay, sorry, I should turn the knife this way so you can see, is 4 3/4 inches. I'm sorry, 4 3/4 inches. But this this front flipper comes past by about 1/8 of an inch. All right, so you end up getting to about 4 7/8 by the time you add the front flipper there. Okay, the weight on this is 3.7 ounces. So a knife that's this big and a titanium sub frame lock in this case, but it's sort of titanium frame lock-ish, okay? To be under 4 ounces is actually really, really impressive. And so in terms of size, weight, and carry, this is great. I find this very comfortable to carry in pocket at that size and with the pocket clip working the way it does. And yet when you get it out, you definitely have a full-size, substantial folding knife where you're not making any compromises in terms of carrying something smaller or less useful in order to save weight. Really, really well done in that department. Again, the main things that stand out to me as a first impression, first of all, the design is gorgeous here, but I've kind of already said, I stated my bias up front that I definitely like the Griffin aesthetic, if you will. They have a bunch of stuff that looks really appealing to me, although a lot of it is a little small for my liking. The hollow grind on this MagnaCut blade is huge to me. That is such a great feature and really makes this knife stand out from, a lot that's available out there. You rarely see a hollow grind this aggressive. Really, really well done on that. Then, of course, the great looking micarta and the other options and the really comfortable feel in hand. So those are the things that stand out to me. Just the practicality of this as a cutting tool, while at the same time being highly desirable, being really, really nicely done in terms of fit and finish and materials and all that stuff that scratches that high-end itch for us, while at the same time being just a really good utility cutting tool. So there you go, guys. Those are my initial thoughts on the Griffin Company X Series bolster lock. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.